On the same morning a newborn baby came home. An 8-year-old girl vanished on her way to church. Same house. Same family. Same few hours. One life arriving, one life disappearing. And nearly 50 years later, the truth still doesn't fully add up. August 15, 1975. Broomall, Pennsylvania. A quiet suburban community outside Philadelphia. At the time, this was the kind of place where children walked alone and parents didn't worry. That morning, the Harrington household had two things happening at once. Anna Harrington was returning home from the hospital with a newborn baby, Jessica. Inside the house, everything was focused on that arrival. Outside, 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington was preparing to leave. Gretchen was the third of 4 daughters. Her father, Harold, was a pastor. The family was deeply involved in church life, and Gretchen was known for being consistent and dependable. That week, she had attended Bible school every single day. It was the final day of the program. Attendance certificates were being handed out. And Gretchen didn't want to miss it. Her older sisters stayed home to wait for their mother and the new baby. Gretchen didn't. She picked up her Bible and left the house just after 9 a.m. The walk to Trinity Chapel was less than half a mile. A route she had already taken several times that week. Her father watched her head up Lawrence Road. Everything looked normal. Around 9:25 a.m., a neighbor saw Gretchen near the intersection of Lawrence Road and Sussex Boulevard. She was close to the church. Focused. Walking with purpose. That sighting would become the last confirmed moment anyone saw her alive. She never made it to Bible school. No one at the church saw her arrive. And when investigators later retraced her route, they found no signs of a struggle. No disturbance. No dropped belongings. No indication anything had gone wrong. Search dogs tracked her scent along the road. They followed it consistently. Until they reached a point not far from the church. Then the trail stopped. Not faded. Stopped. That detail immediately shifted the investigation. Because it suggested Gretchen didn't wander off. She likely entered a vehicle. And did so without resistance. Which meant she probably knew the person. By late morning, concern escalated. Around 11 a.m., Gretchen's friends showed up at her house, assuming she had come home early. She hadn't. At 11:23 a.m., police received a call reporting her missing. The call came from someone connected to the church. Someone who told officers he hadn't seen Gretchen that morning. But during that same call, he described exactly what she was wearing. In detail. The style of her shorts. The stitching. The closures. Clothing that had been handmade by her mother. At the time, that detail was recorded. But it wasn't pursued. And that decision would later raise serious questions. The search effort grew quickly. Hundreds of volunteers joined police and firefighters. Helicopters scanned from above. Search teams covered miles of wooded areas, fields, and nearby waterways. A hotline was set up. Tips came in rapidly. Several witnesses reported seeing a vehicle near the route that morning. One detail appeared more than once. A green station wagon. In at least one account, a man was seen speaking to a young girl near the road. The description was consistent with the timing of Gretchen's disappearance. But no immediate suspect was identified. After 2 days, police acknowledged they had no confirmed leads. The large-scale search was reduced. For the Harrington family, the situation shifted from urgency to uncertainty. There was no explanation. No resolution. Only questions. 2 months later, the case changed again. On October 14, 1975, a jogger in Ridley Creek State Park noticed something unusual in a remote wooded area. Authorities were called. Investigators confirmed it was Gretchen. The location was about 2.5 miles from where she was last seen. The cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head. The scene raised additional questions. Her clothing had been arranged deliberately. Items were placed separately. This was not random. It suggested the person responsible had spent time at the scene. The investigation intensified again. Police reviewed known offenders. One individual, Richard Bailey, a convicted offender, had been seen in the area that morning. He was investigated but never charged. No physical evidence tied him to the crime. And over time, the case stalled. Years passed. Then decades. The investigation was revisited multiple times. Different detectives reviewed the evidence. But no breakthrough came. The case became one of many unsolved files, until 2022. That year, a woman came forward with information she had kept since childhood. She had known the Harrington family. She had also spent time at the home of a local pastor, David Zanstra. In her statement, she described incidents from 1975 involving inappropriate behavior during sleepovers. At the time, she had written her concerns in a diary. In that diary, she also recorded a suspicion. She believed Zanstra might be connected to Gretchen's disappearance. That information was enough to reopen the case. In 2023, Pennsylvania State Police traveled to Georgia, where Zanstra was living. He was 83 years old. During the interview, he initially denied involvement. He repeated what he had said decades earlier. That he hadn't seen Gretchen that morning. But as investigators continued questioning, his account changed. He admitted seeing Gretchen walking along the road. He said he offered her a ride. And that she accepted. According to investigators, he then drove her to a secluded area. An incident occurred. And he admitted to striking her. The confession led to his arrest. Nearly 48 years after the crime. For many, it seemed like the case had finally been solved. But the trial introduced new complications. The defense challenged the confession. They argued it was obtained under pressure. They also pointed to Zanstra's age and health, including cognitive issues. Then came the most significant issue. DNA evidence. Testing on Gretchen's clothing identified biological material from 3 individuals. 2 males. 1 female. None of them matched Zanstra. The prosecution argued that his confession included details only the person responsible would know. The defense argued those details could have been influenced during questioning. The case came down to one question. What carries more weight? A confession. Or physical evidence that doesn't match? In January 2025, the jury reached a verdict. After just 1 hour of deliberation. Not guilty. After nearly 5 decades, the case returned to uncertainty. Zanstra was released. He died later that same year. Today, Gretchen Harrington's case remains officially unsolved. 3 unidentified DNA profiles still exist. No confirmed match. No new suspect charged. And the questions remain. How did the caller know what Gretchen was wearing? Why was a vehicle seen near the scene that morning? And who do those DNA profiles belong to? If you've made it this far, your perspective matters. Do you believe the confession was accurate? Or do you think the evidence points somewhere else? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Because in cases like this, discussion keeps the story alive. And if you want more deep dives into cases where the truth isn't as clear as it seems, subscribe. Because some of the most important stories are the ones that still don't have answers.